I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know we've been going back and forth and working on getting this thing scheduled, and we finally are here. So thank you for taking the time to do that.
Sure, absolutely.
I know we're a little pressed for time. If you want to share your background as far as like your coaching experience, I don't want to take nothing away from you from that. I know you put a lot of work and a lot of years into that part of your life. If you want to kind of just give me a quick rundown, and then we can go into some coaching stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I found my voice, what I say, very early in life, because I was coaching as early as 15 years old. A little league basketball coach asked me to help him coach a junior pro basketball team. So I started coaching junior pro basketball. And the minute I started, I'm like, I love this. This is awesome. This is why you hear me say, Stan, sometimes you don't find your purpose finds you. A lot of people believe you got to find your why before you do something big in the world. And I fundamentally disagree with that, because I think sometimes we find our purpose by pursuing something, and in the process of pursuing. So I pursued basketball, became a head coach at 18, elementary, became a head coach at the second largest high school in Tennessee at 21. And then by 31 had built a, kind of a national powerhouse, which is why people were constantly wanting to know how I was doing it, which prompted me to start writing the books I started writing.
Nice. So let me ask you this. Who started molding your philosophy and leadership? Like, was it like maybe a mentor from the high school, or from the maybe someone in the community started saying, hey, they kind of planting the little seeds of books, and who was that person?
When I was 15 years old, a local dentist in my small town of Woodbury, Tennessee, had a background in theater, arts, drama. I did not. I was an athlete, and he took one person per year and coached them. And he coached me on how to speak, how to write a speech, how to have a cadence, how to walk a stage, how to make eye contact. And that introduced me to a new way of thinking. At 18, one of my basketball mentors, a coach I looked up to, said, if you don't read another book this year, pick up a copy of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I went to the store and got that book, and just fell in love with Dr. Covey and studied his work for the next 7 years at the deepest level.
That was pretty interesting at that age, for someone to introduce you to that. And I think that nowadays it's if you really think about it, it's that easy to change someone's life. Like, someone thinks that they have to be in this pedigree family, and they have to have all this money, and they have to go to this school, they have to be in this environment. But someone just said, hey, you know what? I want you to read this book. And that book actually planted several seeds that you weren't really sure what they were going to sprout to be. But in return, it led you off into a different philosophy of the way that you approach life. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, I think exposure. I'm working on a new book now on prey drive, how to activate the prey drive in people.
Okay.
And one of the activators of prey drive, it's called Flip the Switch. One of the activators of prey drive is exposure. Like, you expose me to something that I didn't know. That's what they did. At 18 years old, I had never read a personal growth book. I didn't know the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I didn't know I would love personal development until that person introduced me to that.
Yeah.
They exposed me to something I didn't know.
Nice. So 15, that you were introduced to leadership. It was a whole different environment. You got into the high school coaching, and then that led to college. That led to like multiple championships. So I would say maybe you kind of felt you reached your peak in that field. And what made you change that mindset of saying, okay, you know what, I want to pivot my career into business coaching. And I know I kind of did some research. You had a radio show, right?
I did. Yes.
Yeah. So tell me about that radio show. Is that how you kind of got introduced to get your voice out there?
The way I started is that I was, as a basketball coach, I was studying businesses. For some reason, I just had this fascination with how do great businesses run. I was studying personal development. I was studying you know, Covey and Collins and Good to Great and Five Dysfunctions. And I was bringing those concepts back to my team. And because I was bringing them back to my team, I was building what I called a competitive intelligence. My players they were smarter than other people's players. So people were constantly asking me, what are you doing, man? Like, what are you doing with those kids? And that prompted me, Stan, to start writing books. And when I started writing books, I actually started writing books for other coaches. But the interesting thing was coaches wouldn't buy my books. Business people bought my books. And so business people started saying to me, will you come over and speak to my team? Will you come over and motivate my people? You're this championship coach. So I would go over there and speak for an hour. And then they would say, man, will you come back? Like, we loved it. Will you come back and coach our people? And that led really to a business that I didn't even plan that business. And I was just, I would go speak for an hour and they would say, man, our people loved it. Will you come back every month? And how much would it cost for you to come back every month? And the next thing you know, at 31 years old, after I built this championship program, people started offering me significant amounts of money. You know, 150,000 here and 125,000 there, and to be their coach. So
for business, right?
Business, yeah.
Okay.
Now the radio show you're talking about, I thought, you know what? I love radio. This is back before podcasts were big. I had a show on the Fox News affiliate called Change Your Life Radio, and the concept was, we believe 1 hour can change your life. And I interview people just like this, and I would interview some of the biggest people in the world. It's actually how I met a lot of the biggest people in the world. And I would interview them and kind of do this for an hour. And we thought if you were exposed to these big time people for an hour, it could change your whole life. So we believe 1 hour can change your life.
That, you know, now that you kind of bring that to light, the two, because there's a sports mindset and then there's a business mindset. But if you actually look at top performing businesses or business leaders, they actually have the same traits as a top athlete. For example, like their diet, their sleep, their mindset. So a lot of business owners, they don't think that those two, you can combine them. But once you combine them, I think that you're onto something great here. Like, so I think you have something that no other business coach can talk about because they haven't lived that sports life.
Yeah, a lot of coaches in today's world wake up and call themselves coaches, Stan. They haven't won anything. They haven't produced anything. They haven't had to take a group of people and get them to a higher frequency. They just rolled out of bed and said, I'm a coach, you know, and that's why business coaches get a lot of bad names, because there's no methodology. They haven't really won. They don't really know how to build a team. They don't understand the dynamics and the psychology behind building a culture. So that's it. In my opinion, that's a competitive advantage I have over other coaches. I do know how to win a championship. I have built a multi-million-dollar business. You know, I know how to do it because I've been doing it my whole life, right? Like that's the only thing I know how to do. So when you think about it, I think it's very important when you go to pick a coach that you choose a coach that has shown a demonstrated capacity to actually do what you want to do.
Speak a little bit more on I know you mentioned frequency. So tell me more about like the frequency. Your in your words about frequency.
Well, I use this word a lot, how to get to a higher frequency. When you deal with big time people that are interested in self-actualization, they're interested in operating at the highest possible frequency. They have a high degree of knowledge, a high degree of skill, a high degree of effort, a high degree of confidence, a high degree of energy. They're kind of operating on another planet, right? If you ever spend time with big time people, and I was doing a webinar before this, an insurance webinar, and I said, when you're in the presence of great people, their skills are so strong and impeccable. They have spent such a long cycle of time refining the skill set that it is very obvious to you that you're not dealing with an amateur. You're dealing with the pro. And the pro really knows what he or she's doing because they've done it so many times. They're operating at a different frequency, which is why they typically earn the most income, which is why they typically help the most people, which is typically why they become people of interest and attract people to them, because of the frequency they're playing at. And some percentage, it's not a large percentage, unfortunately, of people out there want to play at that frequency. So you mentioned, you know, the way I eat, the way I prepare, the way I work out is like an athlete. The way I rest, you know, I mean, it's like an athlete. I treat my body like I'm an athlete because I am an athlete. I'm not playing sports, but I am performing every day. I am trying to get other people to a high frequency. So what if I'm out of shape? What if I have a bad attitude? What if I'm broke? What if it's going to be very hard for me to tell you as a coach, look, man, you need to get it together here, Stan.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. So, your, I guess, definition of frequency is basically just operating at a higher, I guess at a higher production, right? Performance and skill set. So would you say, because whenever you said frequency, I assumed you were talking about, have you seen those like meditation videos where they say frequency hertz? Are you into that stuff or like not really?
You know, I don't meditate a lot.
Okay.
Now I do use frequency in terms of repetition. You know, you need a high frequency. You need a lot of reps.
Okay.
But the way I talk about it a lot is that frequency. It's like a dial, like a radio dial. You're operating at a high frequency. Like there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy here.
I see what you're saying. And would you agree that like in order to kind of move up that frequency, you probably got to start understanding the language of those members in that higher frequency? Because if you try to get around that environment, for example, if I go around your environment with, you know, when you're with Grant, when you're with Brad, you're with Tim, and I don't really have that same language, the frequency is going to be off, and they're going to know, hey, this guy's not really playing at that frequency left. So my question is, what are some tips to kind of build up your frequency?
Well, that's a great question. I look at it like mastery. Okay, we could substitute the word frequency for mastery. These guys are operating at a high mastery level. And when you study mastery, there are cycles to mastery. The first step of mastery is observation. And you just get in the room and watch them. You don't do anything but observe a master. Then after ample time of observation, you then begin to practice what you see the master do. Then over a long cycle of time, typically 10 years or 10,000 hours of practice, you become a master and other people observe you.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm now coaching people in how to be a coach because I've been coaching people. I've been running a multi-million-dollar coaching business for 18 years now. Like I now can teach you how to speak, how to coach, how to train, how to write books, because I'm kind of mastered that. I'm not, doesn't mean I can't get better. But my point is I've reached a level that I know how to do it. I've had enough frequency. I've had enough reps. I've been around the biggest people in the world. I've paid the money to have the coaches. So now I'm coaching other coaches. Which is kind of my $1 million coaching summit. Yeah. And my publishing summit is I'm teaching people how to take a message and monetize it, because so many people in the world, I mean, 200 million Americans want to write a book. That's 81%. That's 81% of the population. Most of them have an idea, but they have no idea how to make money with that idea. They have no idea how to build a coaching program. They have no idea how to build an online platform. They have no idea. They have no idea how to do it. They want to do it, but they don't have the know-how to do it, which is what I'm teaching people how to do.
So basically, you kind of, help them tap into their inner strengths, because I think everybody has a strength. They just don't realize it. And they might want to write a book based on something else they want to do, and it doesn't really make sense. That makes a lot of sense. You help them tap into their strengths, because everybody has a strength, and everybody can. Someone will gain something from that person's strengths because they went through, trials, and how did you come across it with Grant Cardone? I know that you did the 10X Growth Con because you didn't just say, "Hey, Grant, I want to be on your stage." How long and how much frequency preparation did you have to get in that environment? Not so much Grant Cardone. I'm talking about the environment.
Well, the interesting thing about Cardone, because he has been a significant player in my life, and he gave me opportunity to speak at 10X, which changed my life. And I met him in 2012. Back to the radio show. When I had the radio show, I was constantly looking for people to interview. And I was walking through the Chicago airport and I saw the book 10X. And there was just all up down the whole thing, 10X, 10X, 10X. And I went over and I picked up the book and I had no idea who Grant Cardone was. I never heard of him, didn't know who he was. And I picked up the book and looked at it and I said, 10X looks like a cool concept. He looks like a cool dude. And I reached out to his team. Now, this is important for your viewers. I've come across interesting people in my life that I never reached out to, and that was a mistake. See, like you were smart enough to reach out to me. You understand what I'm saying? Like you didn't hesitate. You reached out to me. Well, I can't tell you how many people that I should have reached out to that I didn't for whatever reason. Scared, didn't take the time, nervous. Well, Cardone, I reached out to his office and said, I'd like to have you on my show. I've got this radio show. And I had him on my show on Change Your Life Radio. And he was a phenomenal guest. We did a great interview and he really liked me. He said, man, I really like you. You and I should be doing things together. And he started having me on his show, the Cardone Zone. Because back in the old days, he had a literal radio show just like I did. He drove to Orlando. He was on a show 5 days a week called the Cardone Zone. He would interview people and he would routinely have old Coach Burt on that show. And then he endorsed my book, Zebras and Cheetahs. And then he said, why don't you come down to Mexico and come to this event I'm doing down in Riviera Maya, Mexico. And it's called 10X. And so I went down to Mexico. I spoke at that event. There were 75 people there. It's where I met Bradley. And Cardone and I would become friends. And then 7 years later, or 6 or 7 years later, I kept working that relationship, which is how I got on stage at 10X at Mandalay Bay. Now, my point was to all your listeners, number one, when you have a thought or meet a person, you need to reach out to them. Don't have any reservation, any hesitation, any consideration. Okay? And a consideration is a thought that prohibits you from taking an action. I reached out to Cardone. I built relationship with Cardone. Cardone introduced me to Bradley. Bradley's introduced me to some of the biggest people in the world. Right now, I have good partnerships with Tim Story and Tim Grover and all these people, all because of what? Speaking at 10X, which really didn't start in 2018, Stan. It started in 2012 when I built a relationship with Cardone. That's the point everybody needs to take away.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people don't see the back end work. They don't see the multiple, radio shows. They don't see the multiple interviews. They don't see, I know that you probably done multiple, small, chambers, maybe Rotary Club, those little small meetings, hundreds of them that people have said that they don't really see that because you were just trying to build up your brand. I want to get into something else really quick. Appreciate you sharing that story with us. How do you manage to balance your life? I know you have a couple of good books. You have the Swag and then the Mind of a Monster.
Yep.
Right. And then you have one about family marriage. You and your wife, I think, did that one together. Tell us a little bit more if there's any listeners that are in this thing with their spouse. Me and my wife work together, and I'm curious to know how you manage to communicate, and maybe you can share some tips on that end of it as well.
Well, my wife wrote a book called Living with a Monster, and it's how do you live with an obsessed person? The best thing I would tell you about my wife is she allows me to be me. She doesn't try to change me. She doesn't try to demotivate me. She doesn't try to temper my ambition. I mean, she's about as low maintenance as you can get. And she has things she loves, and I have things I love. And she runs our real estate. She loves designing. She loves hospitality. She loves her deal. And so what I've done, the best thing I've done, Stan, is I have structured my business in such a way that my wife can include her talents and I can include my talents. So I do all the coaching, selling. She does all the hospitality, handles our real estate properties, right? And it works great for us. But I have what I would call a very low maintenance wife. She doesn't nag on me. She doesn't try to beat me down. She doesn't take away my confidence. She just says, man, you are hardwired for greatness, and I'm going to let you run wild like a stallion. And I'm going to be right there beside you. And I'm going to benefit from the life that we have. And so she, in her book, one of the things she said is when she quit competing versus my ambition and started cooperating with my ambition, our relationship really went to a much higher level. So my wife, early in our marriage, it was constant, like, why do you have to work like this? And why do you have to be gone? And why do you have to do this? And then one day she just said, this is a game I ain't going to win. This is how God made Michael.
Yeah.
I need to cooperate with him, not compete. Yeah. And when she did that, our relationship went to a higher level. But I don't believe in balance. I believe in intentional congruence.
Yeah.
And intentional congruence is where all parts of my life feed all parts of my life. And let me give you an example. I love real estate. I love buying high-end real estate. I love the creativity of it, right? I love the beauty of it. And I love inspirational places because I'm a creative person. So what I do is I take money from my coaching business and I purchase luxury real estate, big house in Florida, lodge, got a place in Nashville on the 38th floor of a high rise. I got a loft that I'm in right now. And what I do is I circulate about all of those places. Like tomorrow I'm working from Nashville. Then I may go out to the lodge and work. Then I may fly down to Florida and work from my house down in Florida. And what happens is I use this real estate to make money, number one. But number two, I can take my daughter. I can take my wife, right? Like we live an intentionally congruent life. I don't believe in balance. I believe in congruence. So all parts of my life feed all parts of my life. So on a Sunday like yesterday, I may go to church or watch it yesterday online because we're not back yet. I worked for 2 hours on a new book I'm writing about Pray Drive. I went to the lake with my daughter and spent 4 hours at the lake riding jet skis with my daughter. And then I came home and had dinner with my wife. That's a good day, Stan.
Yeah.
That's a good day. I worked a little bit, played a little bit, prayed a little bit, right? That was a good day for Coach Burt. That's how every day needs to be, guys. It don't need to be to one side. It needs to be everything, right? So that's what I believe in.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Would you say? I know that a couple of years back, and I know that the relationship is like a very big misunderstanding, in today's society. And a couple of years back, I read the book Love and Respect, and man, and it gives you a different perspective on a relationship. And it sounds like the book that your wife wrote, you and your wife, it kind of breaks that down. So I'll definitely put the link to that book so they can definitely pick up those books. And I know you have some other, you have a lot of books. So I was like, man, this guy's, has a lot of knowledge. How would you say your lifestyle is? Are you like what I mean by this is like, I read a book with a couple years back, Donald Trump, and he kind of has like this lifestyle where he's like, only expect the best, no matter what. If you don't like something, just make it happen. And then I just recently heard an interview with Elon Musk where he's like, you know what? I'm kind of getting rid of all of my possessions. So tell me, what's your mindset on living? Like, do you kind of say, you know what, I got to have the best on everything? Or, you know what, are you kind of frugal? And
yeah,
I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, this is a great question. I consider myself frugal, but you may look at my lifestyle and not say that. Like I like nice things. We've got $3 million plus properties. We drive Range Rovers. I got a jet. I like if you looked at me, I wear custom suits. Like if you look at me, you think, man, this dude's a high-end dude. But here's the interesting thing. You may look at it and go, hey, he's not frugal. Good Lord. I only buy things, Stan, that I think can help us make more money. So I take liabilities and turn them into assets. These $3 million homes, one of them is a liability. It's the house I live in, but the other homes I have make money. We do coaching events. We rent those houses out. I rent my jet when I'm not using it. The place I have in Nashville, we don't rent, but it gives me bigger think. So I don't spend money. I don't shop much. I don't go shopping for things. I don't need a lot of flash. I do have a nice watch that my wife bought me. Like I was too cheap to buy myself a Rolex. My wife had to buy me one. And she only bought it. I was speaking at 10X and I had this really expensive suit on at 10X. Yeah. And my wife was like, man, you can't go up there. You can't get in front of 10,000 people with that watch. Like you got to buy like right now I got an Apple Watch on. Now my point to you is I think I'm frugal because I don't feel like I waste money. but I feel like I buy things that help protect my confidence.
Makes sense.
Okay. And I had a business coach once, Stan, that told me I was paying this guy $300 an hour to coach me. And this was 10 years ago. $300 10 years ago was a lot of money. And he told me, he said, you're going to have things in life that you need that give you confidence, and other people ain't going to understand them. Could be a nice office, could be an expensive car, could be like it's going to be up to you, but it's going to be part of your deal about protecting your confidence. So I said one day on a plane ride, I was flying to New York City on a private jet, and I took people with me. They paid like, I don't know, maybe $10,000 to go with me. And I was going to coach them for 3 days in New York City around my book, Person of Interest. But part of the deal was they flew private with me. You know what I mean? We coached them while they were there. And while I was on that jet, I said, man, I'm frugal, man. I'm frugal. And they started laughing. They're like, we're flying on a freaking private jet. You can't say you're frugal if you got a private jet. Well, the jet is a tool. It just takes me. I got a 7-year-old daughter. I'm about to have a son in a few weeks. So the jet helps me get somewhere and get home. That's how I see it.
Nice. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, because that's so true. Like if you limit, kind of, I wouldn't say, like, for example, your multiple properties, when you go to those properties, it actually expands your mind, because it makes you create. It makes you create instead of being in the same office and seeing the same thing. It becomes a routine, and then you kind of get stuck in that routine, and then I guess you plateau. So that's change your environment. So I guess what we could take from that is always change your environment upwards.
Yeah. And when you look at your person of interest score, when I'm dealing with a CEO of $100 million company, and he knows I have my own jet, and he knows I've got a house in Florida because he lives right down the road from me in Florida. These are indicators to successful people that you've been successful. Now, I'm not saying I'm a materialistic person. I got to have all these things, but when I'm selling, when I'm putting big deals together and I'm having dinner with a guy running $100 million company who has a $400,000 Bentley or $500,000 Bentley, or I've got a guy in Kentucky that's got I don't even know what it is. It's like $1 million car. Like they recognize these things as indicators of success. So they're like, man, I don't want a broke coach, right? I don't want, my company's $100 million company. Why would I bring in somebody who don't know how to make money? Like they look at it as, okay, you got your own jet. Okay. I get it. You must be doing something right. Cause you can't, a lot of people ask me, do I rent the jet? No, I own the jet. Me and one other person own the jet. It's our jet. It's my asset. So we rent it to other people, but I don't rent it myself. It's mine. I pay for the pilots and the fuel and to get me places, but it's my asset. Well, if you have that, it's kind of hard to fake those things. You can't get one if you don't have a little bit of money.
Yeah, I think that's a very powerful point, because it's kind of like being an attorney, right? Like you have to be. You can't just act. You have to. If you're gonna be the coach 100%. Like don't try to dabble and play both sides. If you're gonna do it, go 100% and go all in. You speak a lot about expanding, retracting. Give us the two, especially now. With everything going on, tell us the two different mindsets of what someone should be adapting at during these times.
Well, I think our natural tendency is to contract to a place of comfort, or when we get scared, we contract. We don't expand. Big time people expand. And when people hear me say that, they automatically think that I mean spend money. You don't have to spend money to expand. You can expend more effort. You can expend more mindset. You can make more calls. You can engage with your current clients more. You can dig in harder. I'm in the business of expansion, creating. I'm not in the business of contracting, which means I'm kind of playing not to lose. I'm playing scared. I think confident people go after risk and opportunity, knowing all the while that they could lose. They could lose money. Insecure people always gravitate to a place of comfort and security. And during this period of COVID, it's easy to contract to a place of comfort. Well, you can't say, I want to do something legendary. I want to become a person of interest. I want to go do big things in the world, but contract at the same time. You have to find ways to expand. And like I said, that doesn't mean spending money. It means effort. So during this cycle, I have seen two very clear people, right? I've seen some people that are scared to death that have contracted, and some people who have expanded. And you got to make up your mind which one of those people you're going to be in the world.
So if someone feels like they're retracting, it might be due to low self-esteem, low confidence. What are some things they can do to kind of help build up their confidence? Because I think a lot of people look for acceptance from someone else to build that confidence, but doesn't confidence come from within?
Confidence is a memory of success. That's what a psychologist would tell you. Stan, confidence is nothing more than a memory. Okay. You have a memory that you were successful doing something. Now, here's the problem with that definition. What if you hadn't had any success? Then you have the memory of failure. So the way you become confident is through action. You become confident through repetition. You become confident through working the muscle. You become confident by trying and failing. You become confident. And when you're low on confidence, you can borrow confidence from other people. Right?
How do you do that? How do you do that?
Like watch their stuff, listen to their podcasts, right? Like when I'm low on confidence, man, I listen to people who are thinking bigger than me. Elon Musk thinks big.
Yeah.
So everybody struggles with confidence. Like I woke up this morning, my Sunday was very heavy yesterday. Like I said, I spent a lot of time with my daughter, spend time working, so almost like I worked. So today when I woke up, I'm like, man, I'm dragging a little bit. Then I go work out. Then my confidence gets a little higher. Then I listen to certain things. Then it gets a little bit higher. Yeah. Then by the time I get into my office, 8:30, boom, my confidence is high.
Well, what are some things you're listening to? If you don't mind sharing.
I listen to, I start every day off with a sermon. I start every day off with I try to give the Lord the first 10% of my day every day. I try to end the day every day with a sermon. I like certain pastors that I listen to. Jimmy Evans is one of my favorite pastors, which is a pastor out of Amarillo, Texas, that I listen to, who just straight talking Texas pastor. So I get some good spiritual time in the morning. And I listen to probably the same people you do. I listen to Cardone. I listen to, I've been listening to a lot of Robert Greene, who wrote Mastery, 48 Laws of Power. Yeah. There's certain people I resonate with better than others. I don't resonate with Vaynerchuk as much as some people do. But I, this morning I was listening to the interview between Story and Cardone. As a matter of fact, when you and I get done today, I've got a Zoom with Tim Story at 3 today. Nice. I've got so you and I probably listen to some of the same people.
Yeah. The sermon, the daily sermon, starting in January, I did the Bible in 1 year. I had the app, and every morning I do, like, it reads like the Old Testament, New Testament, and that actually is a pretty, really, really good way to start the day, because it almost like brings you back, and it kind of gives you like the basics, and it kind of humbles you in a way, and then you kind of maybe go into like the Grant Cardone. It kind of humbles your mind, and then you go in, prepared, and kind of, because a lot of times if you woke up sluggish and you're kind of draining, and you might hear something, you get motivated, but then you come into office with the kind of you're too much for everybody, because you're like, let's go, and I think that kind of brings you back. So thank you for sharing that. Before we end, tell me what do you think about the COVID-19, and what are your thoughts on all that? Is it a hoax, or what do you think? Do you follow that stuff or not really?
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, I think it's been incredibly sensationalized.
Yeah,
I think I don't trust the media, and I'll tell you why. I was a high school coach. I was in the media a lot. Many times, what they reported was very inaccurate. I've been in the media as a public figure, and many times what they reported was not even close. I've been at events. I remember being at an event for a presidential election, and I'm trying to think of the candidate that came to our city. It was a couple years ago, and I went to a rally with that candidate that was enclosed, and one or two people stood up during the rally and made a scene, for like, and it lasted maybe maybe 10 seconds. And they got him out of there. Well, when I watched the news that night, it was Herman Cain. Herman Cain was running for president. And they said, Herman Cain rally, a disaster because of the protesters. And I was there at the event, and I'm thinking, no, it wasn't a disaster. I mean, 2 people stood up and protested for 13 seconds, and that was it.
Yeah.
13 seconds of an hour event, and they put on the news that it was a disaster. So I don't trust the media at all. I have a doctor in Houston that I go to, my doctor, Stephen Covey, who's the #1 energy doctor in the world. He thinks it's a complete hoax.
What's his name?
Stephen Covey.
Covey.
What do
you mean energy doctor? What is that?
Meaning he runs a wellness center. He runs a wellness center, and he has me on the right vitamins and minerals, the right immune system build up, the right energy levels. And he thought it was ridiculous the whole time. And so, I live in Tennessee where it's been very mild. We're already back to work. People are at events. People are eating at restaurants. Like, I think there's always going to be a virus. There's always going to be something. The only thing you can do is build a healthy immune system.
Well, what are some of the things you're doing for your immune system?
I have a customized regimen that I'm on based on my body, my blood, my where my body's deficient. So basically what they do is they customize the vitamins and minerals. They customize the thyroid, the cortisol, the different energy intakes that I take throughout the day to keep me at a very high frequency. So I take X number of vitamins in the morning. They're not just vitamins that I think I need, like A, B, C, D, and zinc. Like go down to the local store. Like these are customized to exactly. I do blood work on a consistent basis so they can keep adjusting those. So I have very high levels of energy.
Oh, nice. It's pretty interesting stuff there.
Yeah.
Where do you think the economy's going next with everything, the stimulus checks and the stock market's kind of like, it's just kind of, everything's kind of, we're at an interesting time right now. Just what are your thoughts on the economy in the next year or so?
I think all I can do is look at the trends of my own business.
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing in May is an uptick. And in April, people were scared to death to make a decision to spend money, to invest money in coaching. It was very hard to get people to spend $1. What I'm seeing in May is getting much better. I'm seeing people take action. I'm seeing people buy coaching programs. I'm seeing it easier to sell things. I'm seeing people get back to normalcy. So maybe I have a skewed perspective because I live in Tennessee, but what I'm seeing is people ready to go, ready to get back, ready to do something big, ready to, there's only so long you can keep an economy down. Yeah,
that's so true. And I think too, like, I think we like dodged a bullet. I think that's kind of what it is. And I think a lot of people are saying, you know what, if this were to happen again, I want to make sure that I have the right people in my corner. And I need to make sure that I have a coach, and I think that you're going to be one of the top coaches in America, on the track that you're going, and you're consistently growing. And I follow you on Instagram and all your YouTube videos, and I know you have those private coaching sessions that are getting bigger and bigger. And so, man, is there anything else you want to share?
No, I think Stan, #1, I appreciate you. I appreciate you having me on and giving me the opportunity. People always ask me how they can help me. This helps me.
Yes.
I want to be the top coach in America. That's my mission, right? And I think my unique background, my number of years of experience, I think I'm on the rise to do that. Yes. I think I'm getting in the right circles and the right stages. I think I have the right pedigree. And so the way people help me is just by sharing my message, saying, this is a guy you need to watch. This is a guy who is the real deal. He has a real methodology. He's not just a speaker. He's not just a guy that writes books. He's a real coach. And all day, every day, all I do is coach people. So, now we're coaching people in how to be coaches. So I would encourage people, to go to my website and just really peruse and look around. I've got 16 books out in the market. They tackle everything from how to be a person of interest to how to live with the monster to inside the mind of a monster to how to protect your confidence. I got a new book out called Legacy Selling, which is on my selling system. I got follow-up books. I mean, I think I create products that solve problems for people. And so I think if you're interested in being a coach, I don't think anybody puts on a better coaching summit than me, teaching you how to eat, how to coach, how to lead, how to write books. I mean, I was a high school basketball coach. Yeah. And I show you you can do this. This is how you do it. This is how you go from being here to doing this. So I would just encourage people to go to my website, check it out. A lot of my books right now are free. Okay. And you can get the book and you pay for the shipping. I think it's $9.99. I just saw like hundreds of orders come in a minute ago. So get some of my top books right now and pay $9.99 for them.
Nice. What is the website? Give us the website again.
CoachBurt.com.
Okay.
CoachBurt.com.
Okay. All right, Coach Burt. And it's a pleasure talking to you. We'll definitely get a part 2 in the next couple of months or something. See how everything plays out. But man, I appreciate your time. Tell your team I say hello. You have an awesome team.
Thank you.
And if there's anything I can do to help you out down here, just reach out and let me know.
You got it. Thanks,
All right,
Dan.
Bye-bye.
I like you, brother. Have a great day.